Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Talking Acquisition. This is the weekly high-energy, informative, and slightly opinionated view on all things acquisition, procurement, and government contracting related. This is the place where the contracting community, the acquisition community, and our industry partners connect to talk, listen, and learn from each other. My name is William Randolph, and I am your host, and I would like to introduce my co-host, my colleague, my partner, and my friend, Soraya Carrera. Hello, Soraya. How you doing today?
Hey, Will, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing okay. You got a little scratchy cough thing going, but we work through it.
Okay, well, be careful. Don't cough in public. People get a little nervous. When
I know. It's like, yeah, it's really weird. So thankfully,
it is. You get those little funny looks.
I know, right? Thankfully, it's just a cough. It's just a cough.
All right. Well, I'll try not to make you cough too much. I'll just try to make you laugh a little. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about our podcast. Our podcast shares information and views on a variety of topics that impact the federal acquisition community. Our goal is to provide thought leadership and perspective, not to criticize, judge, or render political opinions, although a few of those do slip out on occasion. We provide this free service because we are former federal acquisition professionals and leaders. We believe that the creativity, innovation, and effectiveness of our community is unleashed when we share knowledge, information, and learning. We hope you enjoy our podcast, and we welcome the views and comments of our colleagues across the private and public sectors. And with that, Will, I'm going to let you introduce our topic.
All right. Well, Soraya, this one comes from some work that I've been doing lately with a few clients, and I'm seeing a trend. And that trend is asking simply the question, how do I communicate effectively with government buyers, contracting officers, program managers? It seems like it's a black hole. One person's trying, but I'm not getting anything coming back. So I want to just talk about what has been our experiences with communication. I know you're a high-level communicator, highly effective communicator. And then if there are some strategies that work better than others, or basically, let's just lay out some ideas and some concepts around more effective communication. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So first and foremost, I talk about communications between government and industry all the time. It's a huge topic for me, because in my 40 years of service, it's something that I believe is necessary. It is important that we communicate, that we build relationships with that vendor community that's out there, whether they are the incumbent contractor that currently supports us or new contractors trying to do business with the federal government. We in the procurement community have a responsibility, we in the government, okay, but we, especially in the procurement community, have a responsibility to be as open, as honest, and as direct as we can with our vendors, to help them understand how to do business with the federal government, and more importantly, to help guide them, navigate them through the maze that is the federal government, because it is a very complex maze. And I especially think a lot about small businesses, because it's hard for small businesses to navigate all the different agencies and the differences that exist. So I come from the school of thought that communications is key. One question that I often ask folks when they go, oh, well, there's a PR in my queue and I can't talk to industry, because that's usually what you hear, is where in the FAR does it say that? Where in the federal acquisition regulation does it say, hey, if you have a requisition, if a program official contacted you, whatever, you can't talk to industry? I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody has ever pointed to that section in the FAR. You know why? Because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
It does not. And the Office of Federal Procurement Policy put out a series of memos called Mythbusters memos. And in there, they address this. And it's real simple. What the FAR says is that we cannot give a vendor an unfair competitive advantage, right? Yeah. They can't get an unfair competitive advantage over the other vendors. What that really means is that when we communicate information about what we're doing, we should make it accessible to all the vendors. And how do we do that? It's called FedBizOps, right? That's one of the many tools, or now they call it SAM or whatever, wherever they buried it. Yeah, SAM, right? I'm dating myself. It used to be. Anyway, but my point is, exactly. Everybody knows I'm older than dirt, right? So anyway, but you communicate. That's the mechanism for getting the information out and giving access to all. And it's not going to kill you to talk to somebody, right? I think it's rude that if a vendor calls you to ask a question or emails you and you don't respond. And sometimes you just don't respond to them directly, but you put the information out there. I believe that you take the preventive measure, which is instead of waiting for vendors to reach out to you, reach out to them through industry days, through your synopses in the Fed Biz Ops, your sources sought, put out your schedule for the acquisition and then update it. What the reason vendors are banging on your door and calling you up is because in order to pursue an opportunity, they really have to understand it.
Yeah.
If they're in larger businesses, I'll say larger, not necessarily large, but larger than your average small business, they typically have a hierarchy that they have to answer to, just like we do in government. And that means that they got to go tell their boss, yes, I'm pursuing this opportunity. Here's what I know about it. Here's who's, working it. They have to give some general information and background to get some confidence to get those bid and proposal dollars. So if you really want good competition, effective competition, then we got to communicate with industry. But there seems to be a hesitation, a fear in some cases of talking to industry. And it makes I keep saying us, even though I'm retired, but it makes federal government look like they're being evasive or elusive or worse, incompetent.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. I have always had an equation in my head from a standpoint of how communication actually helps the bottom line. And here's how that equation goes. The more the government talks, the less industry has to guess. The less industry has to guess, the better solutions industry can make. The better solutions industry can provide, the lower the prices the government pays. Okay, it's connected.
Or the better the prices the government.
The better the prices.
Lower, because then I'll accuse you of.
That's fair. That's fair. All I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, it takes the risk dollars that are put into the equation, it pulls them out.
Yes.
Because there are fewer things that they have to guess in or make up.
Yeah.
And just like in normal communications between humans, in absence of facts, people will make it up.
Yeah.
And it's always made up far worse than what it actually is. Therefore, if you can extract the unknowns and replace those variables with facts, I just have a sense of, and I've seen, and I've started to see it from this side of the table, that the more clearer the picture is, the less risk has to be built into the solutions. And then that reduced risk also manifests itself in better, I'll use your words, better pricing.
I would agree with that. In fact, what I've always said is, first of all, you want competition. Competition is good. Competition is good because what competition tells you is that you are likely to get a better solution at a better price to fulfill your outcomes. So to promote competition, you got to have communication. Because if you're not talking to those who are not currently in your sphere, in other words, if you're not talking to the vendors who are either that are not incumbents or are coming in new to the government with new solutions, new ideas, if you're not talking to them, then you need to get the same people. And look, nothing against incumbents. I have nothing against incumbents. Some of the best contractors in the world have been my incumbents. However, they're made up of human beings. You know what happens to human beings when they've been sitting in one place too long? They become a tad complacent.
Yeah, that's right.
They do. They become a tad complacent. And so they don't sharpen their pencil as much. They don't necessarily go out there and forage the best solution for you because you're happy with the solution you've got. And I'm thinking mostly in the services arena. Again, nothing against incumbents, but I want to keep them sharp. I want to keep them alert. I want to bring them to bring me the best. That means that I got to push for competition, because if they know there's competition, they're going to bring you the best. Like you said, the more we talk to them and the less that they have to guess at what we're trying to do, then the better the solution and hopefully the better the outcome for the procurement. be it better solution, better pricing, better results, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I come from the school of thought that what we have to do, there's not enough of the government officials to talk to all the industry reps individually. That's a given. So I get that. I get that.
Yeah,
But
you be on the
there's
phone all the
ways,
time. I get it.
exactly. I say this all the time. When vendors used to come to me and go, "Ooh, Bobby Joe didn't call me back," I go, "Bobby Joe's got probably like 50 of
Work
you
to do.
calling him. That's why Bobby Joe hasn't called you. Bobby Joe's hoarse, for Christ's
Yeah.
sake. He talk to you now." Anyway, but what Bobby Joe could do is host an industry day to either talk about the particular procurement if one's coming up, or host industry days working with program offices so companies can get to know what the programs are and what
Yeah,
they're
when
forecasting.
nothing's coming.
When
Yeah.
nothing's coming, right? Just a general conversation to say, "Hey, let me tell you about this program that I've got. Here's what we do in this program. Here are some of the things that we buy under this program that could be coming out in the next year or so." That in and of itself will start to satisfy industry because now they know where to look. And they know whether or not they want to target that organization or some other organization. If we did more of that outreach to explain to industry what we do, how we do it, why we do it, where we can, right? Because there are classified programs and stuff like that. But there's even ways to do that in the classified world because they do that out there. But if we could get out there and tell the story and give them insight into what's coming down the pike. And look, I can't tell how many times companies have said to me, "I get it that you're going to fall behind schedule, that Congress didn't pass your budget, that you don't know this, you don't know that." They get that. But they could get, if they could at least get general information so they can start targeting, they're happy. So my recommendation has always been, let's host a bunch of industry days, right?
Yeah.
Let's put together events where we go out there and talk about the programs that we have, what we think we're going to be doing down the pike, and targets of when we think, because then you have your acquisition forecast that goes out and tells them, and then update the data. Right? Update the information, put a schedule out there. Some of the best procurements where we've gotten the best compliments from industry and even the best feedback and even the best responses has been where we've gone out there and said, "Here's what we're trying to do. Here's how we're trying to do it. Let me give you a draft of the statement of work. Oh, look, we decided we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way. Oh, and here's our eval criteria coming down the pipe. Here's how we think we're going to want them." And we're giving this information over time, right? In bits and pieces. And then finally, when the RFP comes out, it's all put together and we tell them, and here's our schedule. Here's how, when we think we want to make award and blah, 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 blah. This is what industry is looking for. Because believe it or not, and I've said this till I'm blue in the face. I can't believe, I sat at an NCMA World Congress years ago where somebody laid out like what the steps are that industry goes through pursuing an opportunity. And you could almost make it a mirror image of what we go through in doing a procurement.
Sure.
They have an advanced planning and a planning, and they do something like an act plan where they're trying to get bid and proposal call. They go through the same steps. So let's help each other out and let's have that communication. Oh, and by the way, you build a relationship.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you have people that you can go and call when you're trying to do some forecasting or some market research. What a novel concept.
Yeah.
Relationships, conversation.
Communication.
It's sharing information. The federal government, I'm shocked that could happen.
So Soraya, you tapped right into what I wanted to talk about as my next comment about the business development cycle that happens in industry. I was aware that there was a business development cycle when I was in government. I really became aware after I left government. One of the things that I wish I had more insight into when I was in government, that how long the process is. I made some assumptions that if you had people that were playing at the RFI stage or at the draft RFP stage, they were early. And if a company sees it for the first time when it drops as a formal RFP, too late. It's literally too late.
Right.
Someone has been looking at that thing, communicating, positioning, capturing, shaping, whatever words you want to use, trying to influence that thing. And here's the kicker for me. There is a full-fledged cottage industry that has been created, and they make big money
Mhm.
filling the information gaps
Yes.
for industry
Mhm.
upstream from when RFPs drop, RFIs drop.
Mhm.
It's literally, and we're talking years sometimes,
Mhm.
like a year. They are looking at something,
Sure.
waiting for it to expire a year from now, and starting the process of doing the environmental scans, if you will, to
Yeah.
prep the field for the game that's going to come 12 to 16, maybe 18 months from now. I was shocked. I literally was shocked. And the money that is invested, because I really think it's an investment. The biggies invest big money
Yep.
for tools that let them have that visibility upstream.
Sure.
The challenge is the smalls don't have the luxury of having that investable capital to make those huge investments. So they're playing the game of it just dropping red meat into a cage of lions, and it's too late then.
Yes.
We've got to get that communication, and I think one of the ways to combat that inefficiency is to encourage the communication as far upstream as possible. Now, it makes no sense, in my opinion, or little sense, for us to be talking about something that's got another 12 months of runway,
Yeah.
or 18 months in government. Okay, but someone should be saying, or have on the, or like you said, on the forecast, that there's a competition coming 12
Right.
months from now, and that at the 9 month or the 10 month, T minus 9 months or 10 months, somebody should be talking about that already.
Yes. Yes. And look, industry is not looking, they get it that you may not be ready to talk about the particular procurement, but
Yeah.
insight into who's the customer. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? What are your goals and objectives? If they can start to understand the challenge that you're confronting, what's the problem you're trying to solve?
Right.
I remember one time I had a program manager ask me, when's the right time to talk to industry? And I said, whenever you're ready. He said, but I don't have a draft RFP. And I said, do you have a problem statement? Do you know what the problem is? Yeah. All right. Industry would love to hear the problem statement. They don't need to see a full RFP. They don't need to see the statement of work. They don't need to see everything on day one. You can start the conversation. They prefer to get as much as possible. That's why you see some of them like doing FOIA requests to see the old contract and that kind of stuff. They go out and try to research the contracts and stuff, not knowing whether that's really what it's going to look like. I say you get out there, you talk about, your program, the objectives of your program. That's what we tried to do. At DHS, we had like a series of discussions with industry that we opened up. One of them was called the Strategic Industry Conversation. We did it once a year, and it was very high level, like 50. In fact, I actually called it 100,000 foot level. It was the senior officials talking about like the challenges, what our priorities and objectives were, strategically what we were trying to accomplish in certain program areas. And then after that, we had components, and a lot of the components really played into this. TSA was really good about it, CBP, all of them have done it. Industry days focused on come and understand our programs. Let me tell you what we're working on. Let me tell you what we're thinking about and the problems we're trying to solve. And some of them, if they were foraging for like innovations, they would even do industry days for that. And then what we tried to do was the reverse industry days, where we would educate our community, our acquisition community, CORs, COs, and anybody who want to listen, program officials, IT specialists, whoever, that wanted to learn what is industry's perspective? What does industry's side of the business tell us about our RFPs, about what it takes to bid, how much it costs them to bid? What are they looking for? What do they need from us? What kind of information? What advice would they give us when we're putting together solicitations or we're thinking about certain areas? Great interchanges with industry. Those were some of the best received. The reverse industry days were really appreciated quite a bit by our community because they really learned a lot about how industry reacts and acts towards our solicitations. And here's the bottom line. Prices are driven up by how much industry has to spend. They have this thing called overhead.
Yeah.
And it's an expense to them. And guess what? You pay that expense.
Right.
Directly or indirectly, you may pay it.
In
Right?
the end, the
And
government pays.
so the more that they have to work at it, you pay for it. And I always remember I had a small business one time say, yeah, we do the same thing the big boys do. There's just only one or two of us doing it versus, the big companies that may have a team of
Apartments.
people.
Yeah.
Right? They have departments. We do it at 2 a.m. They might be doing it at 9 o'clock in the morning, right? The point is, let's not make companies guess at it. I believe that one of the tenets of our government is to be transparent, is to be open and transparent, and to invite competition from all levels, whether they're super smalls or the really large. It's to invite competition. And the best way to invite good, robust competition is by communicating. And here's the other thing. It's not like you're going to get 50 bidders, because the reality is that the more you communicate, the more you share with industry, the better the information that we give, industry actually self-selects themselves out. You will see companies go, not going to pursue that one. I'm going to go chase that other one over there, because they have limited bid and proposal dollars. Even the large companies, they have limitations. And so what they do is they try to go where they can win, where their probability of winning is much higher. That's what they're going to pursue. So the more information industry has, the better they are at self-selecting. That's one of the reasons we started with the voluntary down selects. To help companies know whether they're barking up the right tree. Are you going to be successful here, or are you like way out of your league on this one, right? They look for that insight. They appreciate that, because then it helps them decide, what do I want to chase? What is the business that I want to go after?
Absolutely. So I want to continue that thread and give some insights to our industry colleagues. And there's two pieces of information I want to make sure I relate to them when you think about this concept of communication. Number one, be ready. If you get the conversation, if you have an opportunity to get the conversation, for goodness sakes, be ready. Have done your homework. Know what the organization does. Know what the component does. What their mission is. What is likely their 5 or 6 top buckets of spend. Okay, or how much, whatever bucket. Whatever you're going to the marketplace with, identify that bucket in that organization, so you have a sense of what it is that they provide, and more importantly, how you can contribute. Okay, that's number one. And number two, please, please, please don't go in with the question, what do you have for me? Okay, what do you have? Don't assign homework. Don't assign homework to your contracting officer or your program manager of your core. They're trying to deliver value. The very last thing they have to do or have time to do is to scour through the forecast and attempt to play matchmaker with an industry, with some industry capability, and try to find something for you. That's not the job. That is not the job. So one, be ready, do the homework, prepare, do the homework, and then don't assign homework to your counterparts, because that's the last thing someone is interested in. Is they want to give you 15 or 20 minutes to talk about capability and trying to find matches or alignment to the mission. And the first question coming out is, so what do you got? What's on
what
your,
you got for me?
What you got for me? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't, you're right. It just doesn't work that way.
So, interesting when you say, be ready. So one of the comments that I make is, go read the freaking website of the agency you're going to go visit. I'm not going to tell you that it's going to tell you everything, but it gives you some pretty good information. If you snoop around that website, you'll get some info. By the way, when a customer calls me, when a potential client calls me, now that I'm on this side of the house, you know what the first thing I do is? Go look at their website. I go look at their website because that tells me a lot about them, but also so I can gain an understanding of what line of work they're in and what they might possibly be interested in when they want to come and talk to me. It's the first thing I do. As before I call them, I immediately go out and check. And it doesn't mean I read out everything that's on there, but I look for certain salient information about the company, like what line of business are they in? What kind of certifications do they have? Who are some of their bigger clients, if they tell you that on their website, right? That's what I'm looking for. And by the way, the look and feel of their website tells me something about them too.
Absolutely.
How they talk to their employees on their website.
Yep.
how they talk to the customers and future customers on the website. So I do look at that, and I think you can do that with government. Most government agencies have pretty good websites. By the way, agencies that I know nothing about, that's how I found out about. I would go and look them up and find out about them. Also, pay attention to those messages that are coming from their political appointees when they first come on board. Go read some of their testimony. Man, especially in the first year of a new administration, all that testimony that they give, boom, it'll get you some good information, some good pearly nuggets about what they're looking for. Also, most of the, if not all, of the agencies typically go to budget hearings with the Hill.
Oh,
So they talk about what their challenges are. Boom, boom, there's the info. It doesn't tell you about specific procurements, but it tells you what they're interested in, what they're looking for, what problems they're trying to solve, so that you can target them. Like you said, be ready. Know what's going on, understand, and don't try to chase everything everywhere, right? You're not going to be good at everything. Focus, focus, focus. Even I will tell you, people go, oh, sorry, you're a whiz bang because you're a procurement. No, I don't know everything about procurement. There are some things I know better than others, and I always do my homework. I always do my homework. And somebody asks me a question, procurement, I go, here's what I think the answer is, but let me go look that up. Let me make sure that I got that right. So I have the counterpart for the feds. You do not have time to answer every single call. I get that. And you don't have time to talk to every single vendor. And it's a little scary sometimes to talk to vendors because some of them get a little nasty and angry. But here's the deal. The only thing that counts is what you said in that RFP. And we have those disclaimers all over the place. If you need a copy of one, email me, I'll send you one. Okay? There are disclaimers all over the place that say nothing's final until that final RFP goes out. Okay? So do as much as you can with your program office to try to host those industry days that tell companies, here's what's coming down the pike. Let me tell you what we're interested in. There are a ton of industry associations that will host events for you. They will put on industry days for you. In other words, they will bring you the audience and let you bring the speakers. And they do it because they want to get that. Yes, they have members and those members pay, and some lawyers get a little unhappy about that in the government, but that's another matter. Try to use industry associations to get information out to the communities. Use your SAM.gov, FedBizOps, for those of us old timers, okay? FedBizOps, get that information out there, even if it's just a brief statement of, in our forecast, we said blah, blah, blah. Here it's delayed now by a month. Companies will appreciate that because you're giving information. And here's the thing, you're getting a lot less phone calls the more information you put out through these mechanisms, believe you me. I've worked on several large procurements. As CPO, I observed where we had some really fast-paced procurements that we were doing. And because the head of contracting was getting the information out at that time on FedBizOps, putting out the schedule saying, hey, sorry, we're not going to be able to respond. We're still evaluating, blah, blah, blah. They were like giving constant updates, had no issues, no inquiries. And by the way, industry gets it, that you're going to fall behind, that you're going to be under the gun. They get all that. So get the information out there as quickly and as effectively as possible. Don't be rude. And don't be afraid to talk to industry. They are not your enemy. They're not out to get you. You know when they protest you? When you don't give them enough.
When you don't talk, when you don't give them enough.
When you treat them poorly. That's when they come after you and protest you. So if you don't want to get those protests, get out there and read the Mythbusters memos, for Christ's sake. Go to OFPP. Yeah, it's OMB.gov, I think it is, where you go and then you click on Office of Federal Procurement Policy on the right side. I even know where it is, on the right side, and go to OFPP and you will see they have their Mythbusters memos out there. OFPP encourages talking to industry, and there are many ways. You're not going to get yourself in trouble. Industry's not out to get you, and the more you can get information out there, the better our government looks. And let me tell you, it's something that I emphasize throughout my career because I'm very proud of my government and I want to present it in its best possible light.
Well, Soraya, it's that time.
Oh, well.
I know we always get going and it's that time, but it's golden nugget time. So communication, industry, program offices, contracts teams, where's your golden nugget going today?
My golden nugget is communicate, communicate, communicate. Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't run from it. Don't hide from it. Let's do this. It is extremely important that we communicate, that we share as much information as we can with industry about what we're trying to do, the problems that we're trying to solve, the challenges that we confront in government, and get information out there as early as possible, and then update it. And if you can put it out there on the SAM.gov, you're going to be better for it, because then you're communicating, you're giving access to the right people to get that information. The other comment that I will make is consistency in communication. Don't do a great job communicating on one procurement and then just not talk to anybody on the other. Let's try to promote an environment where our communications are consistent, our approach to industry is consistent. If you look at these executive orders, it is about customer experience, it is about helping underserved communities, and it is about improving the business of government.
Yep.
So industry is your customer. They are your customer. Anybody who comes to you for information, who writes to you, calls you, you're a customer. When you call me, Will, you're my customer. When I call you, I'm your customer. Absolutely. So that experience is extremely important. So communicate, 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 and do it consistently.
I love it. I love it.
How's
So
that?
great. So my nugget is a hack, is a life hack. Here's a life hack for you. There's a powerful phrase that I have used a lot in my career, and it goes like this: under the guise of market research, ... Okay. If you, every sentence or paragraph you start with that, talk away, have fun, in just till your ears fall off. Okay, talk, because you'd be surprised that there's only a small segment of the acquisition life cycle that isn't, or that can't be considered market research. Literally everything else can be, whether you have something on the street or not. So if you want to have some conversations, you want to talk with somebody, start the conversation off with, under the guise of market research, let's talk. Okay, that's your get out of jail free card. And no one goes to jail for over talking anyway. But that's a good card to have in your pocket. So think about that. It's a simple phrase, but it level sets, it gets the risk off the table, it gets the energy off the table. And then you said it earlier, it's not final until it shows up in the RFP. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really important point. And I do want to say, you had a nugget earlier that I think is extremely important to remind industry. Be ready. Do your homework. Do your homework. Don't expect the government to do your homework for you. Don't come to me and say, I got this great brand new technology, sell it for me. No, right. You sell it. You tell me how I can apply that. Do your homework. Come learn about the government. Look up those agencies. It's not hard. It's kind of in their names, really, right? It's like, Social Security Administration. Oh, look, they provide Social Security benefits, right?
Right.
DHS, Homeland Security. See, I'm being facetious, but I have seen companies that do that actually come in and they're looking for you to tell them. And I'm like, no, do your homework. Yeah. You come tell me how that technology will help my environment. Tell me what challenge you can help me solve. Yeah. So I do want to make sure that industry knows that. And they have to also be patient. Because there's a lot more of them than there are of us. I used to joke around with companies, when a company would call me up and go, hey, I called you 5 minutes ago and you haven't returned my, I called you this morning and you haven't returned my call. I go, really? Did you know that there were like about 20 of you calling me this morning? Oh, and by the way, my boss was calling too. No, just kidding. I tried to be as responsive as I could with industry, and I always tried to meet with them and give them an audience and try to help them understand what the plight of the government official is, because it's not as easy as it sounds. It's easy to critique when you think it's you're the only call, but you're not the only call. There's a lot of them.
And a little communication is better than no communication.
Communicate.
All right.
That's what we're supposed to do. This was fun, Will.
Absolutely. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Do this again.
Let's do this again. Indeed. And with
let's talk protest. You know that I'm dying to get on my protest segment, right?
I know. I've been pushing you away. I've been pushing you away for weeks, but I feel like I'm losing all of my juice now. So it's coming. It's coming.
You know the protest is going to take up like about 6 podcasts. Right?
Yeah, version 2, version 3. All the best.
All the best. Talk to
Be
you
well.
later. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.